can come true. At least that's what British singer-songwriter Gabrielle believed and sang about. She developed a passion for music at a young age, but was terribly shy about performing in front of large crowds. Eventually, she overcame her fear and went on to make a name for herself. It wasn't without its challenges, though, from people constantly questioning her about her right eye that she always kept covered, to comments about her weight, to a battle with a psychological disorder that nearly ended her career. Gabrielle was born and raised in East London to parents from Dominica, an island country of the Lesser Antilles in the eastern Caribbean Sea. She and her 3 half-brothers were brought up solely by their mother. Because her mother worked so hard, holding down multiple jobs, Gabrielle never knew they didn't have much money, since she always had everything she needed. She would begin writing her own songs at the age of 13, and later formed a band with some of her friends that never quite got off the ground because Gabrielle, as much as she loved to sing, wasn't comfortable being on stage and in the spotlight. After finishing her A-levels in anticipation of going to university, she abandoned her original idea to study law and, after getting over her fear of singing in front of people, decided to begin performing in nightclubs. It was actually during this time that Gabrielle adopted the slightly altered version of her middle name as her stage name. Born Louisa Gabriella Bob, she was prepared to use her first name until the woman in charge of booking the shows suggested she use her middle name instead. Eventually, Gabrielle got tired of singing covers of other people's songs and knew it was time to strike out on her own. Her break came about after a producer she'd met in the clubs asked her to sing over a backing track he'd created from samples of the Tracy Chapman hit Fast Car. The lyrics Gabrielle wrote would turn into her debut single called Dreams. The song caught the attention of the A&R division at London's Go Beat Records. They loved it and wanted to release it as is, but couldn't get sample clearance. It ended up being replaced by something not too dissimilar and officially released in 1993 as the first single off her debut album titled Find Your Way.
Dreams can come true. Look at me, babe, I'm with you.
The song reached #1 on the UK singles chart and stayed there for 3 weeks. It also landed her in the record books as the highest debut entry since it came in at #2 for a female solo artist in the UK. The song also peaked at number 26 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in the US and at #1 on the Hot Dance Club Songs chart. 3 more singles were released, with the second called Going Nowhere, becoming another top 10 hit and the second biggest hit from the album. Decades later, Gabrielle would talk about the experience of achieving a #1 hit as being so amazing it left her on a high for a long time. Britpop was on the rise at the time, and Dreams ended up being one of the best pop singles of the 90s. Yet, Gabrielle is never mentioned as part of Britpop. Instead, she's stereotyped as a soul diva. I used to feel put out that people have me down as a soul girl. I never saw myself as a soul girl, but when I came along, because I'm black, people just went, soul girl. I love soul, but I'm an 80s pop child. The posters on my wall were Michael Jackson, Madonna, Adam and the Ants, and Nick Hayward. Her journey, she also admits, was just as scary as it was exciting because of how unprepared she was for the resulting roller coaster of fame and success, including being recognized everywhere she went, photo shoots, and the never-ending debate about why she always wore a patch over her right eye. That was due to a condition called ptosis, the drooping of the upper eyelid she'd had since childhood. In school, she was relentlessly bullied for it and suffered from depression. She also had thoughts of taking her own life at times. After signing her first record deal, Gabrielle decided that she wanted to disguise her condition with sunglasses, but was advised against the move in favor of what became her trademark eye patch. It was good advice. Wearing an eye patch gave me the opportunity to have direct eye contact with interviewers, and it meant kids who wore eye patches had someone representing them. There were rumors I only had one eye, but I wasn't upset by that, because if a child with only one eye saw me on TV rocking the eye patch, showing them it was okay, great. I felt it was good for mothers to see me, a thumbs up to everyone to say it was okay to be different. Another issue Gabrielle had to deal with was her weight, or really how the media spoke about her weight. Even though Gabrielle was a perfectly normal-sized woman, perfectly normal-sized women didn't exist on the music charts. She recalls her and Spice Girls' Jerry Halliwell being referred to as Britain's supersized singers. Gabrielle released her self-titled second studio album in 1996. It eventually went platinum off the strength of the lead single, Give Me a Little More Time, as well as the cover of the Shy hit, If I Ever Fall in Love, called If You Ever, with British boy band East 17. Rise, Gabrielle's third album, was released 3 years later in the UK, and nearly 1 year after that in the US. It would become her biggest selling album to date, as well as her only #1 album, achieving 4 times platinum status. The second single and the title track became her second #1 hit on the UK singles chart. It was a bittersweet victory due to the hellish personal experience that served as the inspiration behind the project. After a 3-year courtship, Gabrielle's boyfriend dumped her the day after she gave birth to their son in 1995. 2 years later, he would end up in prison after being convicted of a horrible crime. In December 1995, Gabrielle's now ex-boyfriend, the Cyprus-born Anthony Tony Antonio, beheaded his stepfather. He stabbed the victim 52 times before dumping the headless body at a lay-by. The head was found buried in another location. While the murder weapons in question had already been disposed of, they were said to have been a hunting knife and a 2-foot-long samurai sword. In court, Tony confessed that he killed his stepfather because he had allegedly sexually abused him in his childhood, boasted of abusing other children, and admitted to many adulterous affairs. Gabrielle met Tony through the music industry. He became a mentor as well as her lover. Even though by the time the murder happened they had separated, she was still called to testify at his trial as a character witness for the defense, and to confirm she hadn't colluded with him. No doubt it didn't help that he'd been staying at her London flat since the incident took place. I was so depressed because of the attention it generated. Every time I read an article, it was always my name. His picture, but my name in the headline, Gabrielle. I was like clickbait. So you read this headline and think I've done it. Gabrielle refused to believe the father of her child could commit such a heinous act. That is, until she read his confession. She was ultimately cleared of any involvement, and Tony was given a life sentence. Reports claim he was eventually released after serving 14 years. Gabrielle's first greatest hits collection would continue to provide her with platinum success. Dreams Can Come True, Greatest Hits Volume 1, dropped in 2001, and the lead single, Out of Reach, also appeared on the soundtrack to the 2001 romantic comedy film, Bridget Jones's Diary. On the outside looking in, it seemed as though things couldn't be any more perfect in Gabrielle's life. In reality, that was far from the case. Little did people around her know she was suffering from obsessive-compulsive disorder. Whether Gabrielle was at a friend's home or at a restaurant, she would routinely decline drinks because she had an uncontrollable and crippling fear of using the facilities outside of her home. And what's worse is that I knew this behavior was potentially destroying my singing career. Doctors told me that my persistently sore throat, the reason I was unable to sing properly, was due to terribly dehydrated vocal cords, and so ordered me to drink lots of water. But I tend to drink as little as possible so I won't have to use other people's loos. Her OCD worsened after the ordeal with her ex-boyfriend. She became fixated on home security, hygiene, and cleanliness. Things got so bad that when she went back into the studio to begin work on her next project, she found to her horror that she could no longer sing. Doctors diagnosed the potentially career-threatening problem of throat nodules, exacerbated by her refusal to drink fluids outside of her own house, and she was ordered to take at least 6 months off. However, almost a year later, the problem remained. Instead of surgery, which some doctors are reluctant to do on singers, she was ordered to rest her voice completely. After some time, Gabrielle's voice recovered enough for her to return to the studio and complete her 4th album, Play to Win, released in 2004. Always, Gabrielle's 5th studio album, released in 2007, would end up being her last for many years. In 2018, after an 11-year hiatus, Gabrielle finally made her official comeback with the release of Under My Skin. There were 2 very special reasons why she was gone for so long. Her children. Raising them as a single mother wasn't easy, but something she's incredibly proud to have done on her own. Even before the 11-year gap, though, Gabrielle had always taken a sensible attitude to her workload, unwilling to force herself into touring or making music for the sake of it. Thankfully, I've always been strong-minded enough about my work. I was a nightmare for record companies because I'd only put an album out every 3 years. I wanted to keep my head straight by being with my family and my children. I was strong enough not to chase fame and celebrity. And that's why I haven't lost my mind. I've done things at my own pace. In 2021, Gabrielle participated in the second series of the British version of The Masked Singer as Harlequin and finished in 4th place. She admits that the rumors about her almost quitting the show are indeed true. During rehearsals, everything was fine. It wasn't until the first day of filming, when she actually had to put the mask on, that things fell apart. She couldn't get past how heavy it was, how hot she'd get in it, and how claustrophobic she'd feel. The people behind the scenes were very understanding and accommodating and managed to talk her down from the ledge. After her reality show stint and inspired by the experience, she released her 7th studio album titled Do It Again in March. Today, Gabrielle continues to perform and tour regularly. She can currently be seen on her summer 2022 tour throughout the UK. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you won't miss any future videos. See you next time!